Good morning.
Good morning.
Testing 1, 2, 3. This is a test.
I hear you just fine, Adria.
Thanks, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Okay, everybody, if we're all here, I'm going to go ahead and get started. We have a lot to cover today. So I'm going to begin with real-time rules because it's so important and it's something that I want you all to know and understand so that you can utilize it. Over here on my screen, you should be seeing the real-time rules folder. This shows you all of your real-time rules folders. And over here on the left is your edit words for the US to UK spellings real-time rules. And I have it open so that you can see that on the left is the American spelling of the word. And then there is this vertical line. And then on the right is the UK spelling of the word. We should not be using this real-time rule set right now because it'll mess you up in your real-time coach dictations. But if you're done with your real-time coach dictations, then you can turn this on. I'm going to go ahead and close out so that I can show you how to get to this place. From your transcriptionist main menu, you can access real-time rules by clicking on Edit and clicking on Real-Time Rules. This will bring up your real-time rules folders. You should be seeing some of these folders, not all, because some of these are mine and they're specific to me. but we did put several of the folders on your computers when we set them up. And one of the ones that you should definitely be seeing is US to UK spellings. Are you seeing that? Okay. And everybody has a main. You may have general, you may have sports, you may have time. Everyone should have numerics. Let me explain what real-time rules actually do. Real-time rules are rules that the user, you, set up so that certain things that you see that you don't want to see can automatically be replaced for you. So I'm going to go ahead and click on my edit words right to the right of edit phrases on the main folder. And that's going to bring in, okay, very, very few things here. Let me go to edit phrases, see if any more is there. Must not have anything there. Let me go to general and edit words. Oh my. Looks like, there we go. So on general edit phrases, I've got some things here. And all of these were inserted, created by existing users. And so you can see that on the left-hand side is, like, for instance, the girls. This is meant to be possessive, and so the girls are replaced to the girls with an apostrophe S. If ever you see something in any of these lists, or if ever you see words in your text turning red when you didn't do anything to them, that's because a real-time rule was used. And so if you see something that turns red, but it's something that you do not want to see, then you would go into your real-time rules and look through your folders for something that is there, but you don't want it to be there. So to remove something, you could literally just highlight it and hit backspace, and it's gone. Highlight it, hit backspace, and it's gone. And then when you close out, just choose to save, and that's how you remove things. One of the best ways that I generally explain real-time rules is that when I first started dictating, and I would say AMAC yes, or ACO yes, or I would say yes sir, that was it. I would say yes sir, and I would get yes or. And so I didn't want to see yes or, I wanted to see yes sir. And so to create a real-time rule so that that wouldn't happen, I would click on add phrase or word, and I would type in replace yes or in the replacement field with, I can even get fancy and do capital Y, little e, little s, comma, SIR, period. So instead of seeing yes or, I would see yes, comma, sir, period. Now, what if the phrase was yes or no? Then I don't want the yes or to be replaced. So I would put an exception to this rule. And that exception would be yes or no. Meaning that I want yes or to be replaced with yes, comma, sir, period, unless it's followed by the words or no. And then to add that, I would simply do add rule, and my rule is then in my list. If I go to edit phrases, there it is. Yes or should be replaced with yes, comma, sir, period. And that's my rule. Oh, but it looks like I didn't do it right because there's no unless clause. So I'm going to delete it and I'm going to go do it again. Add phrase or word. Replace yes or with yes, comma, SIR period, unless yes or no. And I'll add this rule, and then I'll add the big rule. Close out and go back to my edit phrases, and now it's correct. So yes or will be replaced by yes, sir, unless it's followed by the words or no. Does that make sense to you guys? Yeah. There's going to be times when there are things that are unique to you that are going to come up that you don't want to see. And you've gone into Dragon and you've retrained it and you've done everything that you could do to make it come right. You've used correction mechanism and you've corrected it there, and still it's not turning into what's right for you when you dictate. The real-time rules are the answer for this when things like this happen. Other examples of real-time rules. Let's go and see. A lot of the times in real-time rules where numbers are concerned, you will see a lot of strange things happening. So in the US, our interstates are called I and then the number. I stands for interstate. So a person who might be doing captioning and they might be captioning the news might say there's a collision on Interstate 77. But instead of saying Interstate 77, they're just going to say I-77. And so that could come up in your text as EYE 77, or it could come up just I and then 77, but it could be the words 77, or it could be 77. But it's supposed to look like this, I-77. And so this real-time rule, I-77, is here. You could even add another replacement for that. That would be EYE 77. And you could replace that with I-77 as well. So that's sort of an example of how we use real-time rules. This doesn't make too much sense to me. Oh, okay. Like for example here, high -90S, but notice that the S is capped. They might be talking about the weather and they might say, well, it's going to be in the high 90s this afternoon, which is very common here in Louisiana. So high 90s, as you can see over here on the left, has a capital S. For some reason, when they're captioning, they don't want to see that. They want to see 90 with a little s. And so that's why high 90s is an example here. But the only real difference is that there's a capital S on the left side and a little s on the right. Let's see here, wave 3, that might be the name of a newscast. Skycam 4, that's probably what they call a helicopter that's traveling over interstates watching the traffic. July 4th, for July 4th, you know, things like that. Let's see what other kind of cool real-time rules we can show you. Time. Let's see what those look like. No time.
While you're searching, Adria, can I say something to them?
Please.
When you're dictating and a real-time rule comes up, you'll notice that the text is red, and if you try to do correction mechanism, you cannot. The reason you can't do correction on the real-time rules is because SpeechCat has made those changes, not Dragon. And so when you come across the red text that came out as a real-time rule, you just have to go past that and correct whatever comes next and just ignore what is in red.
Right, ignore that. You'd have to ignore basically that whole utterance.
Right.
Because remember that you correct by utterances. So if there's red text in an utterance, you just skip that whole utterance. You don't correct it. And here's an example of some of the things that you might see. Time is a really good example because here, for example, 1:15 p.m. On the left, it's the word 1, the word 15, and p.m. On the right, you see the number 1:15 p.m. That's the way we really want to see 1:15 p.m., not the example on the left. And so a lot of these real-time rules that have to do with time may be very helpful to you. So the rule with using real-time rules folders is if there's a check in the box, that means you are going to use that folder. If there's not a check in the box, you don't want to use that folder right now. You will see when you're in your transcriptionist dictation screen, and I'm just going to go pop into there right now because the only way to show you is to actually be in the screen. Just type in real-time rules and okay. And I'm going to go right into dictate. I'm going to load my engine. And down here, right to the left of where you see opening speech engine, please wait, you see main and general. Do you see that? That means those are the real-time folders that I currently have checked off. Those are the real-time folders that I will be using today unless I go and make a change. So once my speech engine opens, because I can't do anything until it does, I can go to edit real-time rules and select other folders that I want to use, and then they will appear in the box down here to the left of your status bar. Depending on the courts that you work in and the kinds of work you do and you listen to, depends on the kind of real-time rules that you're going to need. I think that it would be a very beneficial thing for you all to know that you can share real-time rules between each other. That's a really helpful thing because if you work in similar courts, hearing similar things, you're going to be needing and creating some of the same real-time rules. So I'm going to click on edit. And real-time rules. And I'm going to select the ones that I want to use. I want to use time and numerics. And it looks like I maybe have two mains. Okay. I'm going to check off this other main as well because this is my real one. I think that weather and time often sound like the same thing, like it's a lot of numbers, but there are things in weather that are not in time, so I want both of those selected. And the minute you're done doing all of your dictations, you will all want to check off US to UK spellings because that's automatically going to change the spelling of some of the words that you're going to be using. It looks like they're all in edit words. So these are some UK to US spellings that are different. You can go through this list, and if there are any there that are not applicable to your specific situation, then feel free to delete the ones that you're not going to be using and save on exit. So that's real-time rules. They can be so helpful. And so please know that on our YouTube channel, we do have a lesson on real-time rules. So if you want to go and ever listen to that, you can go to videos only if you'd like, and you will see all sorts of videos, and there is one on creating real-time rules, and it's only a short 4-minute video. So if ever you want to hear the lesson on that again, you can go and watch it on our YouTube channel. Now I'd like to talk about voice strokes. And voice strokes, there's also a lesson on our real-time, on our YouTube channel on voice strokes, but I'm going to go over it here with you. Voice strokes are created for when you have a large amount of text that you want to bring in with only a few words. And so an example of a real-time, let's see, let me go into my vocabulary editor and custom words only, and I'll show you. Okay, so I have one trained for final instructions, and it's called Auto Jury Final Instructions. Let's see if I have any others. It looks like that's the only one. So I'm going to see if it's working. I'm going to close, and I'm going to turn my mic on. Auto Jury Final Instructions. Test 1, 2, test. Mistakes that were clear and natural. I will continue to use this tone when I dictate with the product. Right now, I'm giving Java a chance to adapt to my voice and audio environment. As I talk, Java is checking the quality of the audio input and adjusting some settings. Good audio input is essential. Test 1, 2, test 1, 2. Testing, testing, this is a test, testing, testing, this is a test. Okay, I'm not getting any text this morning. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Did you check your dictation source?
I did the audio setup wizard, and yeah, the dictation source was correct. So I'm gonna go to Dragon and see what the problem is. Now, what I'm doing right now is, what you may have noticed is that I went in and I dictated and I got no text. Has that ever happened to you? To any of you that you've dictated and you've got no text? That can often be a problem with with Dragon. And so I'm going to go into Dragon, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to dictate and see if, I'm going to go into the Dragon pad and see if I'm getting text there. It looks like Dragon is not even wanting to open for me this morning. So I'm going to do Control-Alt-Delete. And I'm going to go to Task Manager. And I'm going to click on Dragon for Windows, and I'm going to end the task. And Dragon goes away, and I'm going to check in my taskbar to make sure that there's no Dragon icon, and I'm going to go and try to open Dragon again. And again, it seems stuck. Michelle? Okay, while that's transferring, the whole purpose behind voice strokes is to insert a large amount of text with only a few words. So an example of when you might use a voice stroke is if let's say that you're doing a dictation from court and there is a jury charge, meaning that the judge is explaining to the jury what charges they can consider in coming to a conclusion on how to charge the defendant. So in the US, jury charges are usually pretty large. I'll show you an example of some jury charges that we use here. All jury charges begin with the word auto. So all of mine have the word auto, and let's see, let me do, this is just one that inserts the word cross-examination. That's pretty dull. I'd like to show you one that's a little larger. This is an example of a rough draft order. Here in the States, when a court reporter is going to provide a real-time feed, they often will send first this text, basically letting the person who's receiving the real-time feed know that a real-time feed is not a complete edited transcript. And so this is one of the things that we use as a voice stroke. So we say auto real-time draft, and it automatically will insert this segment of text, letting the person receiving the feed know that this is not a final copy of the transcript, but only a rough draft copy. So the point I'm trying to make is that a voice stroke can contain a small amount of text or a very large amount of text. A voice stroke can actually contain pages of text, and that is usually only applicable when the jury charge is very, very large. This, for example, is an automated a voice stroke for when they're calling a witness to the stand, whereupon so-and-so recalled as a witness and having been previously duly sworn was examined and testified as follows. So they would say auto previously sworn, and this would come in. So that is the whole point of a voice stroke. There's some examples of a voice stroke. The way we create a voice stroke is in Transcriptionist. We go to what we call the include directory setup. So that's view, include directory setup. And this is where all of our cover pages for our styles live. This is also where we create any page that we want to bring into our transcript automatically or manually. So if all voice strokes have to begin with the word auto, then they're always the ones that are on top. So here's an example, auto negligence, one act sufficient. So I'm going to go ahead and open that. And it asks us to choose a style that will be used with this form. So I can choose any style for that. And okay, and this is the plaintiff must prove that the defendant was negligent in one or more ways alleged in order to recover. It is not necessary for plaintiff to prove that the defendant was negligent in every way that plaintiff claims. If you find no negligence at all on the part of the defendant, then no, this is obviously not finished. Then no, something can happen, obviously. So this is an example of a fairly large grouping of text. Here's another one. This is another jury charge on a civil action. So it's just another jury charge. You may or may not see these in your work. I'm not sure, because the only transcripts I've seen from you guys don't have any of these. So I don't know if you deal with jury charges or not. I don't know if you deal with large standard paragraphs or not. But this is where you would create a new one, and you would simply click on new, type in the name, which should always begin with the word auto. Let's say it's a jury charge on murder. So you could do auto first degree murder. And then you hit create. And then you find that file, auto first degree murder, and you click on open. You select the style that you've created it for. So maybe it would be a TNT criminal matter, high court, and you click on OK. And then you would just start typing it in. In the instance of first degree murder, comma, the following must be true. And you just type it out. You can see that it's not in Courier New. So if you wanted to change the font, you could highlight it with Control A to select all and go to Edit, Change Font. You could select the font. Maybe it's Courier New, 12, regular. So okay, and there's the right font. And then when you're done, you just save it and you exit. The next step involves going into Dragon, Naturally Speaking, and creating an entry in Dragon. I'll try one more time to open Dragon. Okay, let's see. Let me just move that over here. There we go. We'll see if it'll open Dragon.
Adria, by the way, just had a call. If your computer updated last night, for someone else, they had to change, they had to like go to Dragon and check the dictation source. I don't know if that has anything to do with this.
Yeah, something obviously happened last night. My real-time rules are different, and okay. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add, this is how I would add the real-time rule, not the real-time rule, excuse me, the voice stroke for my auto first degree murder. I would type in an asterisk, the word AUTO, and then first degree murder dot RTF asterisk. And then on the right side, I would type in what I'm going to say. And I'm just going to say auto first degree murder. And I would click on, I want to train the pronunciation, and I click on add. It's automatically going to come up and give me the option to train it. Auto first degree murder. Auto first degree murder. I would save it. And then if you notice, here it is, auto first degree murder. And it has to look, the file name, auto first degree murder, has to look exactly the way you named it. So if you capitalized auto first degree and murder, then it needs to be capitalized here. We add a .rtf because that is the name of that's the file name. The .rtf has to be added. This can also be located, the instructions for this can be located on our YouTube channel as well. And you would find that by just going to videos and looking for creating a voice stroke, and there it is. So that is the instructions on creating a voice stroke. I don't think that, I'm not sure if my previous students use voice strokes or not. I know that everybody uses real-time rules a great deal. And so real-time rules are going to be very, very important. So the thing that I would want you to focus on is learning real-time rules, because I think that's going to help you more than anything else. Okay, so let's see what else. Okay. The other thing that I wanted to go over, and this is repetitive, is I wanted to go over again how to export your Dragon user profile. This is something that you should be doing at least once a month, if not once a week right now, with as many changes as you're making constantly to your vocabulary. So I'm opening my Dragon user profile. This is very important, so please pay attention to this. We went over this right in the beginning, right after we created our first user profile. We all did this. We all went to vocabulary, manage vocabularies. I'm sorry, that's not right. Profile, manage user profiles. And then click on the profile that you want to export, click on advanced and export. And we all created under our documents folder, libraries, documents, we all created a DNS user exports folder. And that's where I normally will export to. So I'm going to click on DNS user exports and OK. It's telling me that I've already put a copy here. So do I want to override it? And if I say no, then it won't write it. If I say yes, it'll write it. If I want to export it and say I want to create a second copy of this, then I can just put it in my documents and maybe not put it in my DNS user exports. That way I have a secondary copy of it somewhere. It's okay to have multiple copies, because let's say that you really mess up your user profile and you go and you import the last user profile and that's messed up too. You want to have a previous one to go back to. So keep that in mind. It's good to have multiple copies in different places. Often what I'll do is I'll often export it up to my cloud. So I'm going to export it also to my OneDrive account. I have a DNS user exports there, and I already have a copy of it there. So I'm going to put it in another location. I'll just put it at the root of my OneDrive, instead, and I'll just click on OK. Now I'm just going to quickly go over importing a user profile back in, should you ever need to do that. Very easy to do. Advanced, import. Go to one of the places that have that user profile, like your DNS user exports, and I'll click on one that I want to import, and I'll click on OK. And it says, oh, well, do you want to overwrite the existing? I'm going to say no. I want to import it as a backup, and I already have one imported as a backup, so I'll call this one backup 2. And it'll import that right in for me. And there you go. So now I have 3 backups. I have 3 samples of the same user profile. Remember that you can easily get rid of any user profile by simply clicking on delete, and away it goes. So if ever you have a corrupted user, that is the way you import a user profile. Let's talk about how do you know if your user profile is corrupted. That's really important. One real quick way to know that your user profile is corrupted is that you cannot save the user profile anymore. So if you click on profile, save user profile, and it gives you an error, then your profile is corrupt. And it's time to delete it and import a backup. This should not be a stressful event for you because you should have a backup. And this is the whole reason we make backups, because things like that do happen. How does your user become corrupt? Let's say that you're dictating and you get a power surge. I know that you guys see tropical storms like we do, right? And so you probably have the same problem we do, that when there's a tropical storm and the wind is blowing really badly, power lines can go down and we can lose power. Now, when you lose power, your battery on your laptop is going to hold you up. But what if you've been working on battery for 4 hours and you didn't notice that you were about to lose power, and so you were dictating and your computer went down? That can corrupt your user profile. Michelle, do you have other good examples of what corrupts user profiles? For me, that's the big one that I see, is when I'm using the user and I'm actually dictating and something happens, the program crashes and goes down while the microphone is on. That is almost always what I see with a customer getting a corrupted user profile. I would venture to say that 97% of the time we do not know why a user profile got corrupted.
Well,
so
I've had it happen when I was running Vocabulary Builder and I had a power went out and it corrupted my user.
Ah, okay. So we've talked several times about learn from specific documents. Let's go ahead and do that. I think that we did not get to do that on a previous class. Is that correct? I think that is right.
That's correct, because you had to repair Dragon last time.
Right. So I didn't get to do this. And this is what Michelle's talking about when she says Vocabulary Builder. We call this feature Vocabulary Builder. Dragon calls it Learn from Specific Documents. That is its current name. That was not its name years ago. And years ago was when this actually this feature came about, and it was called Vocabulary Builder, and we didn't change the name in our program, but Dragon has since changed the name. So, vocabulary learned from specific documents. And we always have, well, we don't always have to have checked find unknown words, but we normally do. And we always want checked adapt to the writing style. We click on next. And we can click on add document or add folder. If we have a whole folder where we have clean texts, we can go and select a folder. If we only have a few documents, we can click on add document. I'm going to go ahead and use the add folder. And automatically, we have installed for you under your local disk C topic files. We have a bunch of folders for you already of cleaned up files from the US. So I'm going to go ahead and select general litigation and click on OK. And that brings in just some general transcripts, 7 of them. I'm going to click on next. And it's going to read those texts, not out loud. It's reading them and it's searching for new words. It is also establishing context by seeing what word precedes and follows each word. So context is being learned by it reading these texts. That is why when you do these with your own texts, it's going to be so much more helpful than using the texts we've provided for you. Because as is true in any nation, we have different colloquialisms. So you have different sayings, just like the word doubles means something different to you than it does to us. I only know about that because of my best friend, right? She tells me about all these things. My best friend is from Trinidad. And so she tells me about these terms that you use in Trinidad that mean something different in the US. In the US, when you say doubles, you're probably talking about a tennis match, whereas that's not so true for you guys, right? Right. So, you know, you're going to see that when you run, you know, once you start creating transcripts with transcriptionists, once you're doing that and you do learn from specific documents with your own transcripts, you're going to see a tremendous jump in your accuracy because it's going to learn from the context of your transcripts, which are going to be very different and much more important to your Dragon vocabulary than these that we've provided for you are. I'm going to click on next. And what it's going to do is present a list of words. Now, these are supposedly new words. The truth is that these are actually words that are not in the Dragon vocabulary. They may be names. They may be acronyms, right? This STCC is certainly an acronym. I don't know what it stands for, but it's an acronym. I can tell. If I don't know what it stands for, I'm not going to add it to my vocabulary, and neither should you. If you do know what it stands for and you say, oh, I'm going to see that again. For instance, here in the US, it's different in different states, but in Louisiana, CPS, Child Protective Services, is something that we hear a lot in juvenile court. LPS, Lafayette Public Schools, Louisiana Public Schools. So there are going to be a lot of acronyms that you'll see. You want to add the acronyms that mean something to you. You want to add words and names that mean something to you. Like the US, I find that Trinidad is rich in culture and represents many different cultural backgrounds. So you have, like the US, you have names from all over the world. So some of them are going to be in the vocabulary already, like common names, like Mohammed. That's common. You're going to see that in the vocabulary. Walker, you're going to see that in the vocabulary. Roberts, that's going to be in the vocabulary. Jack, that's going to be in the vocabulary. Catherine's last name, I can't even say it, but I can tell you it's not in the vocabulary. And Salim, that's going to be in the vocabulary, but gosh, I'm gonna torture this name. Is it Jehani or Jehan, or how do you say it? Somebody turn on your mic and tell me. Tell me. Come on, help me out.
Jaheen.
Jaheen. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. But that will not
Thank
be
you.
in the vocabulary. Michaela is going to be in the vocabulary, but it may be spelled differently. Anissa, I bet that's not in the vocabulary. Natoya will be in the vocabulary. Diane will be in the vocabulary. Laura will be in the vocabulary. Trisha will be in the vocabulary. So you will see many, many things, like summer's going to be in the vocabulary, but I'll bet you it's not spelled the same way. It's going to be spelled like the word summer, as in the season, right? So you are always going to want to add, like Elan. That's not going to be in the vocabulary because I've never heard that name. It's beautiful. Never heard that name before. So you're going to see things like that. One of the first things you want to do is add your name to your own vocabulary. I don't think Asha is going to be in the vocabulary. Sue Ann will be there. Gilbo's not in the vocabulary.
Neither is your name.
You got that right. Adria is not in the vocabulary, nor is my last name, Terrio. So you're going to see a lot of names. You want to add names that are things that you're going to hear in your courts. If it's a name that you've never heard and you don't think you ever will hear, don't add it. When in doubt, do without. When you're certain, add it. So how do you add a word? Well, you just go down the list and you say, La Fiera, I'm going to see that. La Jolla, I'm going to see that. Menos, I'm going to see that. Nunez, is that Nunez or Nanez? Oh, I don't think I'm going to see that. Fidencio, I've never heard of that. Some of these, the text is so small, I'm struggling. Ambulations, that I'm going to hear whenever they're talking about physical therapy. So I'm going to add that. So you would go down the list and you would add words that you want to be in your vocabulary, because anything listed here is not in your vocabulary. Let me share with you something. None of us are perfect. Not me, not Michelle, not you, and not the people that created these transcripts. And I say that because I want you to know that some of these words are misspelled. That's why they're here. So be careful. Be careful that everything you add is spelled correctly. Not only compared to the American spelling, but you want to make sure that it's a real word. Sometimes the frequency helps. These numbers on the right, that tells you how many times that word appeared in the transcript it came from. Sometimes that helps because it tells me, well, if it only appeared once, then it could be misspelled. If it appeared 16 times, I'm pretty sure it's a valid word. I don't think any court reporter is going to make the same mistake 16 times. Notice that there are words that we call stitched. words that have that dash between them. We only use those words in the US when the word is spelled out. So we never want to add a word stitched to our vocabulary. And we never want to add an incorrect word. So go through the list, check off the words you do want to add, and then click on next. The ones that you checked off will appear. We click on check all and train. And then I'm going to train them with my mask. Minnows. Indulations. And then you're going to hit save. And next. And now it is adding those words to the vocabulary, and it's also adapting the writing style. What is your writing style? Your writing style as a transcriptionist is normally going to be question, answer, question, answer, question, answer, speaker. Speaker, 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 question, answer, question, answer, question, answer, speaker. Do you see what I mean? That's your writing style. A lot of people use Dragon around the world, and not all of them are transcriptionists or court reporters or scopists. Some of them are doctors. Some of them are lawyers. Some of them are reporters, just magazine reporters. All sorts of people use Dragon. The disabled use Dragon when they can't use their hands. They write by their voice. And so everybody's writing style is different. And so adapting to the writing style is important. And this feature is going to make you more accurate. I can't stress it enough. This is important. I wish we had transcripts that we could give you, but we don't. As you do transcripts, as you create transcripts, you will want to run them through the vocabulary builder because it's really going to help improve your accuracy. And when you're done, it's going to come up and it's going to say finish, and you click on finish and it's going to automatically save your speech files and you're done. So that's learn from specific documents, also referred to by us as vocabulary builder, a really important thing. This may take a little while, so I don't want to keep you while this is completing, but I will, well, there is a vocabulary builder video. Let's see.
Just remember, once you're done, to save your user profile.
That is right. That is very, very important. Let's see. I don't think I have one here. Don't have one here on learn from specific documents. But it should be a part of creating a new user, because that's something that we generally do in creating the new user, which we do have an option for creating a new user. We do have a video on that. So do remember that there are so many videos. We have 2 YouTube channels. One is for ACE, and that's where you watch all of your class videos. And the other one is just for features. So be sure that you have access to both of those YouTube channels because they will be useful to you in the future. So this will eventually come up and say finish. You click on finish and then you save your speech files by clicking on profile, save user profile, and you're done. So that's the process of learn from specific documents. And that's our class for today. Before I let you all go, I just want to thank you again for working so hard. You guys are doing great. You are absolutely rocking it. I'm so, so proud of you. I'm absolutely thrilled with the scores I'm seeing. I'm thrilled with you guys going back and redoing dictations and quizzes and exams. You have until next week to do that, so please do that. Salim, I think you should be back on your dictations by now. Do let me know if you are dictating again yet, if it's open for you. If it's not, let me know. And you all have a wonderful, wonderful day, and know that we're available if you need us. We'll see you next Wednesday. Bye, everyone.